We're speaking to Reuben Yuvaraj this morning, who wants to lose weight. Well, this has been his resolution for the past couple of years, but he's still trying to lose the weight. And this year is probably the year that he will lose it all. Now, Reuben, tell us about your journey with your weight.
Yes, actually, it was a gradual progression over the years. When I was a kid, I was actually a very skinny kid. I remember when I was 11 years old, I was only 28 kilos. And my mom used to give me Apaton weight gain. I think it all kicked in at one go. It happened when I was close to standard six, I think. It was the standard five year-end holidays. And that's when I started eating. I mean, initially it was pretty okay because, you're a kid and you're supposed to slowly gain a little bit of weight and move around a lot. But then I think over the years, it has just been a very, very gradual progression. There have been times where, of course, it has spiked and I've not really come down from there. So, yeah, so that's about it. Just that over the last, I think, 3, 4 years, it's been even harder because I think with the weight gain, I've not been able to exercise. And when I talk about exercise, I'm talking about like playing sports because I love playing tennis, ping pong, whatnot. It's been harder on the knees, harder on the ankles. And so, the fear is there of always getting injured. So you just stop doing it altogether. And then coupled with stress from work, you tend to eat a little bit more. I tend to binge on a lot of sugary things. I've got a sweet tooth and I bake on top of everything else. So that doesn't really help matters. So yeah, it has been gradual, but a steady increase. I mean, there have been times, of course, where you go on like crash diets and you try all these new fads and you lose a little bit of weight and then it all comes back on. I mean, the skinny people don't really understand this, because they're like, oh, it's just eat, just control yourself. It's not as simple as that, which is why I'm here today.
How has your weight affected your health, though?
I'm generally a pretty confident person, and I try not to let the weight affect me so much. But I mean, it does. You're always the fattest person in the room, and it's not the easiest thing because, and you want to go shopping for clothes, and not everything fits. That's the reason why I don't like wearing brown because I think a lot of clothing manufacturers for the plus size people, they only make things in brown. And so, I think it's become one of these things like that when I go out and want to get something to wear, it's very demoralizing when you can't just fit into everything that you want to wear, and in terms of my health, well, generally speaking, physically, there are a lot of ailments. I have got a terrible ankle. My knees sometimes really hurt. And most of all, I think it's the back. Because even if you look at me right now, I'm leaning forward because I'm resting my elbows on the table because the stomach is really big. So you kind of need that support, and so the back is affected a lot. And when the back goes, I think everyone knows everything goes.
Now, was there a point in your life where you said, enough is enough? I need to do something to make a change for myself. Tell us about that time.
Yes, about 5 years ago, I think I went on the HCG diet. So my sister is an aesthetics physician, and so she put me on this, and it was pretty good for a little while. I think I lost about 16 kilos, and I was feeling really good about myself, and started to wear the old clothes again, and you feel good, and everything was going fine. And then I started a new job, and the stress really got to me. And I mean, I didn't even see it happening. It's like because at 3 o'clock, like clockwork every day, I'd go down and get myself a donut. Okay, when I say a donut, I mean about 3 donuts. I think this is one of the biggest things that a lot of people on the heavier side would say. They would say like, I had a little bit of this. It's actually a lot of this, but yeah.
But have you tried to lose weight before? I mean, what steps did you take and how did those attempts go?
It usually starts off pretty great because the motivation is there, right? And when you first go out, you go out shopping to buy all the healthy food, and it's all good. After about 2 weeks, you slowly start to taper off, and you look at all the vegetables in the fridge; they all start to wilt, and it's mainly a matter of motivation. Or it's also sometimes because you see yourself losing a little bit of weight. You've gone down like 5 kilos, because the heavier you are, the easier it is to lose that initial bit of weight. And then you think, okay, I'm just gonna like have a little snack right now. I'm gonna have a Snickers bar, and and it's not going to affect anything. And then what happens is it just completely takes over. I think that's my biggest challenge. I can't speak for everyone, right? For me, it's like when I see that little bit of progress, I just take a step back, and it's just two steps back, essentially.
What would you say are some of your biggest hurdles when it comes to weight loss?
That's exactly it. And it just like it snowballs.
Now, you mentioned stress eating as one of your hurdles. Have you tried other stress management techniques instead of just eating?
I've tried it, but honestly, the thing is that it's this overwhelming need to have something sweet, and it's not like a sweet like grape or anything like that. You know, you want chocolate, you want. Like my biggest weakness is ice cream. So and the thing is that because I can afford it, I buy the expensive stuff, and so I'm like, okay, I can do this now, and I'll just have like a scoop, and I don't realize it, and I'm having like four scoops. And the thing is that I've got great friends. They all tell me, okay, let's try to control yourself. So when I go out with them, it's a little easier, because they're like, okay, like how about you don't take extra sugar? Because like when I have like a teh tarik or something, or a teh tarik ice, I'm like, pekat manis. They're like, just say pekat, don't say manis. So that helps. But the thing is that this year, especially, it's been quite crap because you can't go out as much. And so you're at home. And when you're left to your own devices, and when you know how to cook and you know how to make certain things, and you tend to go a lot richer on the items that you buy, the way that you cook. I'm never worried about like fried chicken. Like, I never think about the oil. And I mean, now I'm getting a little concerned because it's not just the bad back or the bad knees or the bad ankles. It's also the fact that I've seen friends get cancer. I've seen my friends die. It's like because like I've had a friend who got a heart attack at 33, and I'm like, oh, that could be me. I mean, because let's face it, I'm not exactly living the healthy life.
Ultimately, what is your weight goal, or what are your weight loss goals? Do you have an ideal weight? Do you want to become stronger and fitter as well? Are you inspired by anyone in particular?
Well,
Tell
I
you
get
what.
inspired off and on, right? So depending on who it is, like if I see real people, like real friends, I have a friend who did lose a whole bunch of weight. I think about like 40 kilos, and that was very inspiring. And then I realized this person, they have a relatively simple job. It's a 9 to 5. There's no overtime. There's no excess stress. They don't want kids, so that's the whole family pressure isn't there either. Not that there is for me, but the work thing always is my biggest issue. I would say, and my goal if is it's not even about the appearances. It's not about how I'm going to look. It's just I would like to be able to do things without struggling. I want to get up a flight of stairs and not pant. I want to be able to. When I used to play tennis, I used to be really fast around the court. Now like I take 3 steps and I'm like, okay, like half a set and I'm done. And the next day I can't walk for 2 days because the ankles are killing me. And I want these things to be easier. Just so I don't have to struggle with the daily things that I do.
Now, Dr. Joel, we know that losing weight or getting fitter is one of the most common New Year's resolution. Now, what are usually some of the biggest psychological challenges when someone tries to lose weight?
So I think Ruben, in your case, I was listening to your story. I was taking some notes here and there. Like, I think the good thing about you is that the ability to lose weight is not in question because you have lost weight before. So that's a good thing, right? That means it's something that you can do. You're able to commit in short bursts, like, if I'm understanding correctly, like, right? I think right now the main issue here is the maintenance part, like, right? So that means trying to maintain whatever weight loss program or good diet programs that you're on and stuff like that. I think that's always the case, and I think you're not unique in that sense. A lot of people struggle with the same thing as well. They're okay in quick bursts, like the resolution kind of thing, like, you're okay for the first couple of weeks or month, and after that it just kind of comes crashing down again, right? So I think that's what we need to look at a little bit, right? I think one thing that we can leverage on is the fact that you're pretty good when you're with friends, because then you have someone to call you out or remind you that you need to watch what you consume and stuff like that. So I think that's something we can leverage on a little bit. So that means we want to try and make sure that you're accountable to what you're to the food that you're eating, lah, right? I know right now during the MCO it's a bit hard because you're not around people, not very much, lah. Do you live alone, by the way, Ruben, or do
I
you stay
do.
with? Or you do alone? Okay.
Depends. I live alone most of the time, but sometimes I go to my parents' house, sometimes I stay at my sister's house.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a big social media user by any chance?
Well, I work in public relations, so I have to be
Okay.
on
Okay.
social
Okay.
media quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but not like super active or
Okay,
anything.
okay, yeah, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. The reason why I ask is because a lot of people, as crazy as social media can get sometimes, right? A lot of people do find it very useful when they're trying to learn new behaviors or maintain new behaviors in that sense, right? And one thing that people have been doing is to use social media as a way to keep themselves in check lah, or accountable lah, in that sense, lah, right? So, for example, I've had clients before. What they do is that before every meal or before every meal prep, they will actually take pictures of what they're eating and share it on their Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, right? And the idea behind that is that when you do that, people can see what you're doing and they can call you out on it. So it's the same effect like going out with your friends and with your teh tarik cow, manis kan, the one that you said just now, and your friends call you out on it, right? The same effect there as well. So when we put it on social media, again, we don't have to show it to everyone. You can have the private post, right? So only certain people can see it. But the idea here is that we leverage on the fact that you adhere to what your friends say you, or you listen to what your friends say, and they are the ones who are going to keep you on the straight and narrow, lah, right? The idea here isn't that you can't do it on your own. We know you can do it on your own. You lost 16 kgs on that diet that you did with your family member, which is brilliant. The idea here is that sometimes we have moments where we forget, or sometimes when we're super stressed out, like what you said, and then we kind of lose track a little bit, and then we fall off the wagon, right? Those are the times when we need this accountability, lah, right? So that's something I would recommend that you try and see whether it's up for you or not, lah, to try and mitigate that whole maintenance issue that you're going through. How's that sound, Ruben?
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I will. I need to start immediately. If you know.
I recommend that you start a private group just so it's more contained. So maybe just a couple of friends or whatever it is, right? Just to give you a bit more privacy, which is a good idea, anyways, right? But also tell them beforehand, right? I need your help, guys. Help me keep on the straight and narrow, and maybe there's something that we can try and see.
Ruben mentioned stress eating as one of his biggest hurdles to weight loss. Now, why do we stress eat? How do we prevent ourselves from doing so?
I think stress eat is just one manifestation of how we deal with stress. I think stress is something that is it's I wouldn't say it's foreign to the body, but it's something that the body rejects. It doesn't like it. So we do try and go out of our way to try and compensate for it, overcome it, or change it around, so to speak, right? So in Ruben's case, stress eat, I do the same too, actually, to be fair, especially during exam periods and stuff like that. Other people would stress exercise, other people would stress procrastinate, other people would stress play games, like online and stuff like that. So as long it's basically a way of for your body and your mind to move away or distract yourself from the stressor in that sense. And it's very evolutionary in that sense, right? You see a bear or a tiger, you either run away or you fight. When you see work, Ruben, you can't run away from work. You can't kill work, for example. But what you can do is distract yourself away from work. And in your case, you use food because it's a pleasurable thing for you, right?
All right.
What about sugar cravings? I think I, for one, have sugar cravings. So I would really want to know what causes sugar cravings.
Sugar is one of those things where it's actually really, really addictive, and there's plenty of studies out there that tell you that is the case, right? I'm not sure if you guys have seen this documentary called Super Size Me. There's this guy who had McDonald's, and they supersized it every time for a month for every single meal, right? And towards the end, he says when he didn't have the Coke and the sugary drinks and stuff like that, he started having withdrawal symptoms, like literal full out like shakes and sweats and stuff like that, right? So sugar is something that is legit addictive in that sense, right? um and it's not only a psychological thing, it's a biological thing as well, because sugar is one of those things that actually helps you feel pleasurable, you feel good about it, that's why you eat it, that's why you consume it. Even with clients with anxiety sometimes, right, we actually ask them to have a sugary drink like a Milo after they have a anxious session or anxious attack or whatever it is, right? Because it's a good way to calm the body down, because it releases endorphins, it helps you feel good about yourself. So it's legit addictive in that sense, right? There is no quick fire way to manage this kind of cravings for sugar, right? There's no easy way about it lah. The best way I can do it, that I can suggest to you, is to do it gradually, right? So let's say, for example, Ruben, let's use the donut one since you mentioned this now. You said that, when you're stressed out, you say, I'll go have a donut, but you actually have three, right? Again, this one, we go back to the accountability thing that we talked about earlier. So if you're telling us people that, look, I'm really stressed out now, I need something to calm myself down, I'm going to have something sweet, I think that's totally fine. I don't think we should cut it cold turkey in that sense, but we try and manage it a little bit lah, in that sense, right? So instead of having three, we have one, right? Instead of having, then after that, after about a month of doing that, instead of having one, we have half. So what we're trying to do is to not go cold turkey, but we're cutting down slowly, lah, right? The timeline is something you have to figure out on your own because everybody's chemistry is different, right? So how much sugar you need and all that's different. But that's the whole idea, lah. Every time you try and cut down, you cut down by a third to a half, lah, depending on how much you are able to handle, lah, right? And then we keep going until we reach a point where we can consume it. We do consume it because it's part of our diet. It's normal, but we don't crave for it, lah. That's the hard part here, lah, right? A good way to also go about it is to replace, like I said, the cravings with other kind of activities. Don't Let's not go to food anymore because that's too easy for you to fall back in the old patterns, right? Just do something different, right? So I suggested deep breathing and meditation just now. You can do something else like downloading a new game on your phone, for example, right? Or maybe because you do social media, you don't want to see your phone all the time. Getting a gadget, right? Playing with something like getting a drone, for example, or whatever it is, right? Just something else that you can use as a distractor or a stress reliever in that sense. And again, with sugar, because it's biological in nature, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take some time for you to get it out of your system, so to speak, right?
How long generally would you say it would take?
It's
I
really
mean,
hard to
if you
yeah.
give yourself a time frame, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say because, like I said, everyone's chemistry is different. Your history with the sugar and the food that you're taking is different as well, right, Ruben? A good rule of thumb would probably be it will take you about a month to get used to any new changes, right? Usually, lah, right? So let's say we cut down from 3 donuts to one, for example. Again, just using that as a very rough benchmark here, lah. Probably take you a month for you to get used to the fact that I'm only having one donut, right? And then after that, the good thing is after that it gets a bit easier, lah, because your body starts getting used to the change that's going on, right? It's the initial plateau that we need to get past. Like once we get past that, then it gets a bit gradually easier. So give yourself time. Don't be discouraged. Even if you have fallbacks or you go back to your old habits, like you have three again the next day, for example, that's okay. It's completely normal and part of the process as well. It happens, right? But the next day, try it again. Try again, try again. And after about a month or so, it kind of gets better, it gets more manageable.
What are some of the steps that we can take to have better discipline and commit to this weight loss journey or weight loss goals?
I think that's a good question to recap what we've talked about today, right? So the first thing I started off was saying about accountability. Since that works for you, let's leverage on that a little bit more, right? So that's actually quite key, because when we're on our own, right, it's easy enough for us to fall back to old habits. Oh, it's okay, I'll take one extra bite or one extra donut or whatever it is, right? And then that will, it's almost like gateway kind of thing, right? No one's looking out for us. We say, oh, it's okay, it's not gonna hurt and things like that, and then we fall back to old patterns, right? And the fact that we know that Reuben is good at losing weight, he can lose weight, it's not an issue, right? Some people, they have biological blocks, right? They cannot lose weight because of whatever body chemistry issues and all that. We know that, but it's not the case with Reuben. Reuben can do it. He does it successfully. He does it really well. It's a maintenance issue. So the accountability is going to help Reuben stay on the right, straight and narrow. In that sense, that's what we're trying to achieve here. That's the first step, right? Once we have that mechanism in place, now we're going to have to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what my friends and my loved ones are going to hold me accountable to. And then we set aside those rules and practices that we've talked about this now, right? So for example, let your friends know, if I'm stressed out, my first go-to is deep breathing. My first go-to is mindfulness, right? And you let them know. So every time you're stressed out, they can say, hey, Reuben, I see you're stressing out. You're hitting a wall right now. Let's go do that deep breathing. Let's go do that stress management techniques and all that we've practiced and you've rehearsed. Then you go ahead and do that. So at least then they also know what you're going to do, and then they can remind you and help guide you or do it with you, for example. So there's that whole camaraderie thing going on.
Finally, what's your advice, Dr. Joel, to help Reuben overcome these psychological hurdles and truly begin his journey?
But Reuben, like I said just now, be kind to yourself, right? Because this is like a long journey. You've been doing this for a long time, since you were 12, right? And it's a struggle. It's been yo-yoing since then, right? Be kind to yourself, because if you fall, you do have a trip up, you do fall down. Absolutely normal. It happens. It's like for us, us adults, right? When we walk, right? Can you guarantee me you're not going to fall down? You can't. You're definitely going to fall at some point in life. And what do we do when we fall down? We don't give ourselves crap over it. We scold ourselves. We don't be saying, "Oh crap, I fell down. Dust myself off. Off I go again." That's the same kind of mindset that you should have for this weight loss maintenance kind of thing, right? You're gonna trip up. You're gonna fall down. It happens. But when it does, don't be harsh on yourself. Say, "Hey, I had a bad day. Let's try it again tomorrow." And keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay.